Just look to one of Virginia's reddest congressional districts for a reminder of what happens when one political party calls all the shots. Witness the 5th District. It spans from heavily Democratic Charlottesville to the strongly Republican counties along the North Carolina border, from the Lynchburg area, where Republicans outnumber Democrats, east to the red countryside just west of Richmond. It's a district where folks would vote for a Republican if you dug one up and stuffed him or her. Next month, the 5th will send to Washington John McGuire. He's a state senator, became one less than a year ago when McGuire said his priority was serving in the legislature. That was then. This is now. McGuire decided to challenge in a congressional primary the incumbent Bob Good, and McGuire would narrowly defeat Good in a nasty campaign that was waged on the right. Make that the far right. The only issue in that campaign, who was Trumpier? Voters went with McGuire, and not just because he was endorsed by the former president. McGuire's MAGA bona fides included showing up in Washington on January 6th, though McGuire said he wasn't at the U.S. Capitol for that attempted coup. As for Good, well, he committed an unpardonable sin. He said Trump had done lots of great things, said he was happy to support Trump's programs in Congress. But Good said Republicans needed a fresh face for 2024. So Good, who used to be head of the uber-conservative Freedom Caucus that kicked out Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, endorsed Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, for the GOP nomination. The bad blood from the McGuire-Good primary persists. In Lynchburg, which is Good's home turf, some Republicans were thrown out of the party because they're refusing to support McGuire, who's likely to make very short work of his Democratic opponent, Gloria Tinsley Witt. And Good, essentially no sooner than he lost in June, declared that he'll oppose McGuire for the 2026 nomination. That means Republicans are in for a 2-year nonstop campaign. And if this year's primary was bad, the next one could be worse, especially if Trump is defeated. The election deniers will be up in arms, the conspiracy theorists too, and then there will be that told you so bunch, Good among them. He'll say he was correct all along about nominating someone without Trump's baggage. The venom, the hostility that make 5th District Republican politics a blood sport are a consequence of a partisan imbalance. Because the Republican Party is so totally dominant, it has become the principal arena in which the great issues of the day and not so great issues of the day are thrashed out. But because there are relatively few distinctions on issues, personal loyalty and personalities are what distinguish candidates and office holders. And that means that slights, perceived and actual, take on lopsided significance. The result, Republicans not only get mad with each other, they get even. We've seen this in the Democratic Party, too. Between 1981 and 1989, Democrats swept the statewide offices 3 straight times, and that meant the party controlled the governor's office, the lieutenant governorship, and the attorney general's office. Democrats also held the legislature. And since there were more of them than there were Republicans, Democrats increasingly quarreled among themselves. It bore fruit, for Republicans, that is. Voters were tired of Democratic bickering, and they elected 2 Republican governors in a row. They even turned the legislature over to the GOP. You'd think there would be a lesson in this for 5th District Republicans, but it's not clear they'll learn anything until the kind of demographic and population shifts that have remade Virginia as a whole a blue trending state take root in the very red 5th. For the Richmond Times-Dispatch, this is Jeff Shapiro.